unpowered, 49 days powered. It's still got 49 days on that column. So what is the reduction down to that they're allowed to spend down there? Page 106 to 149.
The reduction, it's shown there for 49 days, but when we were doing it in the past, we were stuck to whatever the season was, and it was longer than 49 days. So,
can we get some clarity around that, please? So we have a comparison with an accurate comparison with regards to dollars per day or something, so we know what we're charging, please.
Yes, I can do that for you.
Will that hold up this motion today? Waiting for the calendar, do you see?
Well, I'm not actually sure what the motion is because we don't actually know, do we? Because the graph is incorrect. Beg your pardon, the chart, you know, option 2, this would see the fees, this is a preferred option. The fees would alter, but they're dropping from 550 in 21 to 20, from 1st of the 7th to the 22 year, and we don't, and it's still got 49 days, so we're not sure what we're charging.
The previous days were, the previous year was more days. So you're dropping days back to 49 days from going forward, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So before it was for a season, Hamish?
Remembering that they can only be there for 49 days under the law. So we're bringing it back to the legal limit, and we're dropping the price because there was apparently some leeway given in the past. So it's not the comparison of how much per day, etc., might still be valid, but we're dropping it to where the regulations say it has to be in terms of the length of stay.
Happy with that, Caroline?
I'm very happy with the explanation, but I'm not. I would like to have more detail around that. It wouldn't stop me voting for the recommendation. I'm also disappointed at the cost required. I think it was 38,000. I just can't find it now. For the ratepayers to subsidise that camping ground, is that correct? Even if we reduce the support from the council with regards to feeding and things.
Yeah, I think you are correct. The ratepayer does subsidise these camping grounds.
Yeah. So 38,000 is a lot of money, isn't it? For how many? And I think I read in the report. I'm just toggling up and down on the report, and I can't find it now. Read in the report that the number of people camping is declining. And I think that I can understand that. So fewer people may be paying more, but also the contribution from the ratepayer will presumably be increasing.
Unless you drop the costs back on the other side of the ledger, which may have to be looked at. And years go by, less and less people use it. The service level of service may change perhaps, but that will be discussed in annual
water and turning the power off. Is that something that could be done? Will that save us any money, or is that? Yeah.
Through Mr. Chair, I did look at that, and really it doesn't save a lot of money. We still need to have the power on because the power supplies water to the public toilets here. We would also have a problem with vandalism and that down there, and the cost, and then trying to administer that would far exceed what it's actually costing us to run it for those months.
Yeah. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just coming back to the point that was raised by Carolyn, that ratepayers are subsidising this to the extent of 38 grand. In actual fact, they're not. It's just the way you read the figures. Because basically, the figures where we're subsidising to $38,000 includes all of that camping grounds proportion of council overheads, which are assigned to that particular entity. So in actual fact, in true cash, I haven't analysed it, but we're probably close to being break even.
Thank you. Caroline, question?
Thank you, John. Yes, I appreciated that, but that's how we do our account. We had a big long workshop on it, didn't we, for days, as to how everybody's going to take a share of the overhead and the share of the accounting and a share of the everything else. Through you again, Neil, to Colin, please. I note in option 1, requirement to meet 25 to 35% of operating costs will be met. And in option, beg your pardon, in option 2 and option 3, I can't see what that percentage of operating cost will be achieved. Is that somewhere and I miss it? Which may have done.
Mr. Chair, that 25 to 35% will still be met with options.
And the other options as well, even with the reduction fees.
Correct.
Because we're taking it out of reserves, or because the income generated through fees and charges will be enough to achieve that level?
The overall budget will still be achieved to meet that 25 to 35%.
Thank you.
Through Mr. Mayor, it just means that we'll be lower in that band than we would have at the old fees. We'll be closer to the 25 and the 35.
Yeah, well, I sort of figured that if we're taking less money. I thought it might be down to like 18 or something.
Danny?
I was just going to ask, does the campers as a group down there, do they contribute to any maintenance down there, like the lawn mowing or tidying up grounds over the year? And there's another comment I'd just like to make. You can go over to the West Coast and have brand new showers and toilets and pay $10 a night. So, I think we're reasonable with this.
Colin, question there.
So the first part of the next question, the problem is we can't allow anyone to do any work on there that doesn't meet our health and safety standards. So as soon as they start doing something down there, if there's an accident, we would be in there would be a problem with that. They probably do some minor maintenance and that down there, like most campers do when they're going to camping grounds.
Okay, no further questions. We have a recommendation there. Someone like to move? John, moved. Second, Diane. Open for debate, discussion. And the one alteration was to change those two figures around for the unpaired for children. We noted that earlier, so we'll change from 5 to 3. The way. Yeah. Any further? No further discussion. I'll put the motion. All in favour? All in favour, please say aye. Carry.
I had a question, Neil, but it's gone now. I had my hand up.
Okay, sorry, Minister. Passed. We can now move back to the item number 9, parking strategy. I see Jeanette Ward is now with us. So, and that is on page 43. And the author of this is Emily. You there, Emily? Tony? Jeanette? I see Jeanette. Hi, welcome. We just saw you for a fraction. There we go. Good. Anything further to add to your report there, Emily?
Nothing further to add. Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to questions, councillors. Questions first. Oh, Caroline.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I have a few questions on this particular report. My first one is, we note in a preamble at the beginning that there's a household demographic changes, and identify the fact that we are ageing, and we're ageing our district at greater rate than the rest of New Zealand. How would you expect this to impact on the parking policy, please?
Jeanette?
Can I pass it to Jeanette? Yeah.
So with the ageing population, they still have mobility needs. So I think it may impact things like how you provide mobility parking spaces, and obviously that proposal to also include over 80 drivers to be able to use those, have some priority parking places as well. So is that the turnover automatically available to you? So yes, it is worth waiting until things have settled down to do that survey, and then you've essentially got a baseline for how things are looking. The other advantage of the surveys is that, particularly if they're manual, is that people can make observations about what's going on in terms of, if they see the same car going round and round and round, you can kind of note those observations of what's going on rather than purely just that turnover.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more question. ADC to facilitate EV charging with providers to determine the optimum number of spaces. I think currently, and I could be wrong, but I think in the West Street car park we have 2 electric vehicle spaces, which would seem to me even today woefully inadequate. Do you have any comments to make on that, or do you have an idea how we would achieve the optimum number of spaces for EVs? Like, how do we undertake that work?
So one of the questions that will be asked during the consultation on the strategy is, do you come into town and require EV parking, e-bike charging, etc.? So it's using that feedback from your community in terms of what they need. But also there is research developing rapidly on these topics. It's been kind of one of those things we don't have at our fingertips right now, but I know that there is a lot of work going on in the space which actually starts looking at those optimum numbers for a community. So by the time you gather your community's feedback, plus look at what the research is, I think you'll be well placed to have those conversations.
Thank you very much.
And remember, Caroline, this document is going out for consultation, so there'll be another round of talking about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Lynette.
Right, I just had 2 questions. The first one, we talk about a mode shift and we're encouraging car sharing, etc. And I'm just wondering, the congestion of cars in the town and the bridge, why aren't we encouraging the use of motor scooters for people to get on them and shoot across to town? And where is the parking in town at the moment for parking of these? Is there any parking?
So when you say motor scooters, you're talking about motorbikes or e-scooters?
Motor scooters, like motorbikes, the step-through ones. I mean, yes, every Asian country, everyone's on them. And I thought, why aren't we encouraging people here, because Ashburton's so flat, and they're easy to park up and don't take up much space? Because some people cannot bike because of knee problems and things, and if they get on a step through, perhaps we should be encouraging that.
That's certainly something council could consider. We haven't, covered that off in this parking strategy in particular, and it's probably not covered in the walking and cycling strategy either, because that was about getting people into active modes. But it's a good point. They do take up less space, definitely.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it there. The other one was around when the Civic Centre gets finished. I can see some big issues with parking down the side street there, because the senior centre is right beside us, and with all the like that hall's used most days, and a lot of elderly people go in there, and they're having to park down at Balmoral Hall, and Balmoral Hall upgrading ceiling of that parking area is kind of not there, and all the heavy stones and that is a bit dangerous for them to to park up and walk from there.
Yeah, Lynette, I think what you've got coming up here is all that could feed into the consultation that goes out there. People have these ideas as you have, and that can feed into the consultation of what's missing. And when we do the final document, hopefully those things, with agreement of everyone, they get put in. So thanks for raising them here, but they think they'll go into the document.
Yeah, if we could put those in the document, that would be good.
So someone will need to submit on them. Someone will need to submit to put it into the document. We've had the go at the document in our workshops, and now it's open to the public to put their have their say and see what goes into the document. So they're good points, but they need to feed in through the submission process. Yeah, Stuart.
Thanks, Neil. Does the Abley document that they gave us go out with consultation document, or is that purely for us to look at?
Yeah, thanks. Yes, so I can answer that one. So our intention is to put that Abley document on the website so that people can read it, but the summary doc is designed to be the main front one for people to read.
Why I ask, if you look at page 93 of the Abley document, it says the Three Waters is going to be the cause of dairying decline in the district. Well, that's not quite right. It should be the nitrate limit is the cause of dairying. The Three Waters have got nothing to do with the dairying decline.
Yeah, fair comment. So the consultation document that goes out, which will be slightly different to what we're looking at now, will that come to councillors before it goes out?
No, so once you've adopted this, we're in the process of writing the consultation document now, and the plan is to start next week, so from Wednesday next week.
So there'll be nothing in that document that is not in these documents we've got here.
So it's simply a summary, basically, of the main points from the summary, plan, and the strategy.
And you'll be asking questions in the document that goes out?
Yes.
Which we won't have seen those questions. I wonder if we could have a chance to have a look at those questions that the people get asked before it goes out.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to send them round if you like. Great,
thank you. Stuart, Diane.
Thank you. I thought the documents were very well written. It all made sense having through it from the beginning. Just a wee comment on page 44. This is for Emily. Previous council decisions / direction, item 6. I'll let you find it. It says there on the second bottom line, located off West Street between the railway, and then it doesn't say what it's between, and then it just says just north of the current West Street car park. So to me, that sentence or that part needed to be completed.
Yeah, thanks through the chair. In the consultation document, we have a map, so it's a bit easier than my description there.
Cool, thank you. Otherwise, I thought it was an excellent document.
I've just got a question before we go to Angus, and it's point number 9. It talks about the community, the advantage. The community gets to have their say on parking across the district. Yet the parking information we've got here is just Ashburton Town. So where do they get to comment on the Methven-Rukai, the Hines, the Mount Summers in this document? Because there's nothing for them to comment on that I'm seeing, but there is in the Ashburton Town Centre.
So the strategy document is district-wide, and it recognises that there may be town centre parking plans also developed for other settlements in the district, such as Methven and Rukai in the future. I don't know, Emily, whether we've actually got some questions on the district-wide strategy specifically targeted at those communities, but it might be worth maybe adding something along the lines of, what are the key issues for you in Rukai in terms of parking? So that's just something to think about to capture that wider district view, as you say.
Yeah, and Tynwald, there's no mention of Tynwald, I don't think. But the parking in Tynwald, is it on private land? It's not on the. It's not council parking. That little where the super value is, it's private parking, I think. Is it?
Yeah. So Tynwald's got a combination of off-street and on-street, and again, that's another community that could be subject to a parking management plan specifically for that area, because you do have those commercial activities along there. So that again might be worth Emily adding to the list of, like, do you have any specific questions around those types of areas or any issues?
Yeah, and if there's a need, we can do something, but if there's no need, we leave it as it is. And the other point that's highlighted in the report is the proposed development of the railway land north of Havelock Street for additional parking for the people of town of Ashburton CBD, which will be over and above, which is there for some consultation as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Angus.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, good afternoon. In the recommendation, what would be the chances of inserting district after the first Ashburton? So it would read that council adopt the draft Ashburton district parking strategy and draft Ashburton town centre. Then it would help clear it up. I'm trying to save an amendment.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If that's the case, I'll move it.
Caroline, you got a question or?
I can second it, and I have a remark to make as a result of that, please.
You moved in second, and what did you have as a result of that?
I want to have a chat. I want to have a question or an additional thing.
Right, go.
Yeah, thank you. I think that we need to see the questions before it goes out. So if we adopt this today, which is fine, will it go out without us seeing the questions, or can we? I would like to have a chance to view the questions and consider them.
Emily said before that we would get to see the questions. They'll be emailed around to us.
Can we? Will there be opportunity for reviewing those questions? Is my point.
I assume so.
Once I email them out, you can then come back to me, let me know if you agree or not, and we'll get agreement amongst everyone.
Great. Angus, did you want to speak to the motion? If you go off mute, we'll hear you.
Sorry. With the word district there now in the motion after Ashburton, so it becomes Ashburton District Parking Strategy, I think it gives an ideal opportunity for the people of the district to have their say. But we've also narrowed it down to the Ashburton Town Centre Parking Management Strategy, which outlines consistent with the maps and everything. So I actually think we have a good history of listening to the people. If you look at the dog strategy, the dog park strategy, especially the open space one, we've done some good work in listening to the people, and I think the people will have confidence that their views are actually being listened to because of our past history of going through the hearing process and the way in which we've handled the hearing process. So I implore everyone to actually have input into this throughout the district.
Thank you, Angus. And we haven't done the dog strategy yet. We're still parked that.
Done the hearings. Done the hearings.
We haven't made the decision yet. We've parked that until we get to have the site visit, which we never got to have. So, but the open spaces strategy, we just passed that before. Bylaw, I mean. Councillors, debate on that? No right or reply needed. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jeanette. Item number 11, road naming, page 121. Renaming a road within subdivision at 181 Archibald Street, Tynwald. And Ian will pop up on the screen.
Hello.
We can hear you, Ian. Yeah.
Thank you.
You've just gone on mute again, Ian.
My apologies. No, I don't have anything particularly to add to the report. It was slightly unexpected that we would get a revised road naming application, but here we are. The policy does allow for it.
Questions, Caroline?
I was going to move it actually,
Well,
because I personally I drove
There's
this.
questions are coming up, so we'll hold you over, Lane. I can't hear you, Lane.
I'm getting there. I'm just happy to second it, but no questions. I'm quite happy to see the name change.
Questions, Stuart? No, Lynette?
No, I've got no questions, but I would say I'm very happy that this name change has occurred, because going up to town for many years, we had to go through the sheep and calves which were being drove up to the sale yard. So I'm actually pleased to see this name change, and it's nice to see that staff has allowed it to happen.
Councillor Lovett, it's you who's going to allow it to happen, as in councillors. The staff just bring us the will of the subdivider. Caroline, you moved. Lane, second. Now open for discussion. We've heard from Lynette. Anyone else like to debate, discuss? If not, I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Next item, number 12, page 125, and road naming of right away 172 Walnut Ave, Ashburton. And Ian, we still have you with us.
Sorry, yes, I'm just shuffling between pages on my screen here. Yes, no further comment on that. This is a right of way, so it's not actually a council road, but our policy and the naming standard does allow it to be named if there is 6 or more properties accessing off the right of way. So it is within the realms of what's allowed by the policy and the standard.
Okay, Angus, question.
Moved.
Councillor Rawlinson, you have a question?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Further debate, discussion. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 13, road naming. On page 129. 130 actually. Name it 178 Racecourse Road. Ian, here again. Any questions? Elaine, questions? Elaine likes to move it. Lynette, questions?
I'm happy to move it or second it.
You'll be seconding it. Lane moved it. Any debate? I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Get carried. Next item, 14, number 14, page 133. There's obviously some subdivisions going on in the district. Naming of road 59 South Belt, Methven. Your questions? Stuart?
We're getting a bit close, aren't we? Elmwood Grove and Tynwald, Elmwood Farm Lane. How close do we let it get? We've got to be careful that there's not confusion with emergency services.
Through the chair, yes, you are quite correct, councillor. There is a limit to how close you can get. We felt that the fact that it's got Elmwood Farm and Lane and a different descriptor at the end of it was different enough. The developers were very, very keen to have Elmwood in this because it is actually called the Elmwood subdivision, and as you see from the report, it was known as Elmwood Farm. So there's arguably a pretty good reason for it to be called this, but equally we've got to consider safety. On balance, we felt that this was far enough separated that we could actually consider it to be acceptable.
Yeah, thank you. Liz?
I'm happy to move it, and if people weren't happy with the Elmwood Farm Lane, then I would suggest that Weir Place would be the next one.
Which was Elmsdale Grove.
No, I'd go for the where place instead.
We'll see what the councillors think. Councillor Brum, you've seconded. You seconded. Open for discussion. Liz, do you speak to it, or you have? Lane?
I'm more than happy. It's a historic name, so that's great. About Lane behind it, I can understand that.
So leaving as is. No further debate. Councillors, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Southtown Belt, item number 15, road closure, Ashburton Car Club, page 133. Can't be page 138. Let me get to it. And this is the Ashburton Car Club road closure standing quarter mile sprint. The date has changed because of COVID to the 2nd of October now. They've advised. So that date of Saturday, 11th September will be the 2nd of October, which I presume will be a Saturday as well. Stuart?
Yes, I was going to question the date, but if nobody objects, I'll move the
We'll do another couple of hands up for questions. John?
Oh, I'm happy to second it.
Carolyn, you have a question? No. Moved and seconded, Stuart and John. Liz, open to debate.
Just a comment that the ad that was in the Guardian, I think it was on the Saturday, had a different date for the application closes. It had June or something like that. So it might have just been a typo, but if you're going to put that back in the Guardian, you may want to just look at that again.
Okay, I think I've also heard there's been no objections to the to it. So to that date, yeah. Any further debate? If not, I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All in favour, please say aye. Carried. Item number 16, review of the district slogan, page 142. We have Simon Worthington with us. This has had a reasonable amount of chatter in the nationwide about a slogan, and Simon's got a report here with a recommendation. If we want to take that recommendation or we want to do another one, it's all up to us. Councillors, questions of Simon first of his report. Or Simon, anything you wish to add to it?
No, not at this stage now, just questions.
Right. Lane, questions? Lane, you're going to have to go off your mute.
No, sorry, it's gone completely. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Really just a comment more than anything else. I'm quite happy with it because whatever it takes, we have to get out of this.
Okay, Caroline?
I have a few questions through you, please, Neil. The motivation for the recommendation, Simon, essentially was that the cost and the risk for having a slogan that could be ridiculed. Is that essentially how that recommendation was determined?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to cost money which is unbudgeted at this stage, for options 1 and 2. The chances of ending up with another version of whatever it takes are quite high. When you look at the number of councils that have been through this exercise, invariably, unless they spend a lot of money, as in the case of Wellington, did around their branding and their strategy, which was more than a slogan, has to be said. The track record of local government doing this kind of work ends in something like whatever it takes. So that's what's led to the recommendation.
Neil, I would like to make some remarks before you move the motion after it's been moved and seconded, please.
Okay, Caroline, Liz, sorry.
Thank you. Given that the, I suppose the Guardian newspaper kind of brought this up before the council really did to the public, then is there anything stopping them from sort of doing a bit of a what's our logo and taking it to the community and then bringing it back to council? I mean, they can do that anyway, can't they? So I still think our story needs to be told, but I don't think that we can kind of stop the community from coming up with a logo to bring to us as well.
Yeah. So, and if you look at, so perhaps the best example of a slogan working is Wellington's, which is absolutely positively Wellington, and they've sat behind that statement for the last 20 or 30 years, incredibly successfully, and that slogan hasn't been subject to the same level of ridicule that other town slogans have been during that time. Number of reasons for that. You know, their application of it has been very, very good, although it's been very, very well resourced as well. But the Wellington slogan wasn't developed by local government. It was developed in response to Wellington being seen in poor light by the local newspaper and by Saatchi and Saatchi, who got together and collaborated to develop the absolutely positively Wellington. And it wasn't until a later date that the local council adopted that as their slogan. So absolutely, there's an opportunity for the Guardian to mobilise the community and smart brand developers who live locally to come up with something far more befitting. And then it's a different conversation, I think, for council to choose whether to adopt what's been come up with or not. I mean, it's a different discussion at that point.
Yeah, Diane.
Thank you. Just a question for Simon. Around, I like the what you've come up with, and the storytelling approach has appeal. So would we be able to use our facility with Christchurch NZ as part of our storytelling? I mean, to me, it links in with our tourism. It's all part of the package.
Yeah, and indeed, Christchurch NZ have provisioned so there's been some additional funding granted as a result of COVID, $1.5 million to Christchurch NZ, part of which they're going to use to develop district promotion strategies or stories, and that's already been committed to in a letter to Hamish from Christchurch NZ.
Thank you.
Lane?
Thank you, Neil. I'm quite happy to move the recommendation as it stands because I quite like the storytelling about our place. When I came here, there was a name called Ash Vegas. Well, I still hate it. 40 years later, I'm still hating the name, and it's still getting used. So let's not go into slogans. Just use something different. Storytelling, who we are, what we are. Great.
Second it. Lane's moved. Second it. Lynette, seconding.
Yes, I'm seconding, and I quite agree with Lane. But what I was just going to ask, is this the first slogan we've ever had for the town?
I'm unaware of others, but this one seems to go back a few years. But I'm sure there are people. Angus might have a longer recollection than I've got. No.
I'm happy to second.
Okay, moved and seconded. John?
Yeah, I'd just like to support the recommendation. To me, the report from Simon gives a bit of history of how these came about. It's very pragmatic. To me, a slogan for a town is a bit like a dress. It's only good for as long as it's fashionable.
Caroline?
I think that's the secret, John. Don't make something that's a fad or a trend. But I agree. As the council cannot impose a slogan on a community, in my opinion. A slogan has to be adapted and has to be accepted, and a brand has to be developed, and there's a whole area of work that needs to surround the slogan. I would be disappointed though if we did not at least endeavour to improve on our image nationally, which is arguably not the best, and I cannot understand it. So I think there's an opportunity here, and we could walk away from that and lose that opportunity. The Guardian newspaper initiated this discussion around whatever it takes, and I think going through the Guardian and keeping an eye on it and being involved as best we can with public discussion and surveys and all the rest of it, I think is important. And I don't think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater because we think it could be expensive or we think it won't work. That is negative thinking, in my opinion, and not really required at this stage.
Were you speaking for the motion or against?
I was speaking in between the motions.
That's a new one. Roger. And you have to go.
Here we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking in favour of the motion. I don't think slogans have any value whatsoever. If they seem attractive for the first few weeks, they soon tire and get old. They are open to ridicule, and I don't think it adds 1 cent of turnover or GDP to the district whatsoever if we have one. So I'm speaking in favour of the motion.
Yeah, John. John. You're on mute, John. Caroline?
I am speaking probably against, I'm speaking for the motion with regards to dispensing with the use of slogans in its marketing efforts because we do not have one. I'm speaking against the motion with regards to discarding the whole slogan approach. And a slogan is not just about money. You cannot measure the value of a slogan. A slogan is about the people that live in the district getting behind a brand and a belief and having pride in their community. It's a wraparound image, if you like. So I think to totally throw it out is a mistake, but I don't know that this recommendation supports that. I think this recommendation says that the council get rid of slogans in its marketing efforts, and currently that's probably sensible because it's not a very good one.
Yeah, and passing this motion does not stop the community people out there to develop their own slogan on behalf of that community for Ashburton. Yeah, John, you didn't get to talk before. Did you want to?
What I was just going to say was coming back to Simon's comments about absolutely positively Wellington. I think that's been around for so long, we've always associated that with Wellington, that when I think about Wellington, I think of their wastewater issues, and maybe that's a carry on from the number of politicians and bureaucrats that live up there.
No speakers for or against the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Against? Carried. Caroline, against and recorded? Recorded, yep, thank you. Thank you, Simon. So that is the slogan done. Next item, item number 17, which is the Mayor's report, page 14. Let's have a look. I'll just scroll through this to get to it.
148.
148, there we go, thank you. Any questions of the Mayor's report? Angus. Hit that little button there, Angus.
Okay. My question, Mr. Mayor, is what is the source of Wakanui Creek? I ask because it's absolute in the first sentence, the words practicalities of restoring reliable water flows to the Wakanui Hapu. So I'm asking, what is the known source of the Wakanui Creek?
That is a question that I cannot answer, but I'm sure that that group will come back to the zoning committee with the answer to that once they have established what the reliable source is or not. Supplementary?
I asked the question because if they are going to restore it from the Ashburton River, that flies in the space of what our whenua have asked us some 20 years to guard against.
Our whenua is on that working group, so they will obviously be discussing that as they go through. But it's the practicalities of restoring it. Is it practical to do it? Don't know. Might be, might not. Don't know. Yeah. Liz.
Thanks, Neil. I see you on your calendar, you had the Otago medical students. Did you just meet them via Zoom, or what happened with them? They obviously couldn't get here.
No, they couldn't, and we did do it by Zoom. All those meetings have been, since lockdown, have been via Zoom. I haven't met anyone personally for any meetings over that period of time. Councillor Cameron also joined in on the Otago University students. Great little bunch of students in their third year, positive about rural doctoring. They knew Mid-Canterbury. One was from Mid-Canterbury, one of them. So, yeah, hopefully after they've done their 6 years, they may wish to return to the district and take up their doctoring things that doctors do in the district. Their, yeah. Caroline.
Sound.
Yeah, Caroline, push that mute button. And Roger, you get.
Can you hear me now?
Can.
I was pushing the space bar, but that seemed to fail. You know, after our discussion with the university students, there's an opportunity there to keep in touch with these kids sort of every year, send them a letter, ask how they're going, do they need support? And we also looked at discussing perhaps rural scholarships down here in that sort of area. That would be quite good to follow on if appropriate, and if we can, if there's an opportunity for that, because we are very short on GPs in this town. My question I have is the Walnut Avenue intersection upgrade project, not with regards to the site blessing, but that upgrade project, I remember we had the NZTA guy down, was it this year or late last year, talking to us about that project and what was going to be involved. And we were very concerned that they might shut down the two roundabouts at the same time, you know, causing huge, I mean, in lockdown, it's not going to be too much of a big deal. Do you have like a timeline as to how that's going to go?
Yeah, they did discuss a little bit about that. They weren't going to block both roads at the same time. They were going to do it pragmatically because they want to keep the State Highway 1 traffic flowing as we want to keep our local traffic flowing. So they're mindful of that. And they'll have traffic management plans, which no doubt if it doesn't work, we will let them know if it's not working.
Thank you. Can I carry on? I've got two other questions.
Yeah.
On this topic and a little bit to the side of this topic, the Tynwald Avenue discussion with regards to the thing in the middle and improving safety crossing the road. Do we have any update from NZTA on that?
The road safety meeting, I think there was something discussed there. Is it, who chairs that, Lynette or Diane? Is it, did they bring it up there at the road safety meeting?
I'll have to have a wee look at back. You'll have to go back and read the notes on that, but it's all in the system and in the process, which is to be rolled out. But I think we're like everything, they're waiting for their funding to see, you know, and work from there.
There was nothing, I did actually go back and I couldn't see anything in any of the last minutes. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to answer that, we were told at the Walnut Ave blessing that the Tynwald corridor improvements were programmed for next year.
Oh, okay, thanks.
That's what a Wakakatahi staff member told us at that site.
Oh, well, that's great news.
And the funding's also approved for it Perhaps, Hamish, we might have an update on the activity report when we have our next activity report on that project.
Yeah, as much as remembering it, as much as we can from.
Yeah, it's not our project.
It's not our project. No.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a comment to make and one last question. The comment is with regards to the CBD update, which will be delayed, obviously, due to not able to work in level 4 lockdown. And I do note they're out there now digging up the streets and trying to make up for lost time. I presume we'll get regular updates as to how that's progressing through emails. I understand it's 2 weeks delayed. Is that correct at the moment?
We might save that for the CE's verbal update in the next item. This
Okay,
is the
thank you.
report. Hold it for then, because the
Thank
mayor
you.
doesn't know.
Okay.
Roger.
Oh, no, I've still got one more remark to make.
Okay.
With regards to the Zoom meetings that we're having at level 3, is that a mandate at level 3 we continue to have Zoom meetings? I know Parliament's back. I'm not trying to draw an analogy between us and Parliament, but it would be good. Do we have to carry on with Zoom? Because they do put constraints on the flow of the meeting and the navigation around the Stella and all the rest of it.
Yeah, we can't meet until level 2 in person, and then there's distancing requirements, a number of people in a building, etc. So you were, for a call, I send you out a memo that comes from Civil Defence, and in amongst that is a table there says what you can do under level 2, level 3 for local government, and it is explicit in there saying whether we can meet or not, and yeah, we definitely cannot meet in person under level 3.
Thanks, Neil.
Yep. Roger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following on from what Angus asked, sometimes there's a bit of confusion about Wakanui Creek. I think it's had 2 names, Wakanui Creek and Mill Creek, and it is sourced from the Ashburton River, just west of the town here, flows down the back of Argyle Park, and as it gets a bit further down, it becomes Mill Creek, and then gets out of town, it becomes Wakanui Creek. So yes, it is sourced from the river. So if that's a problem for whoever, then it'll have to get sorted.
No doubt. Stuart.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. People have got to remember the zone committee or the working group amalgamation of ECAN and the district council. They can only make recommendations. It would have to come back to us. So no matter what they do, it can only be a recommendation. So there are 2 sides to the agreement. Obviously, that committee is going to have one side who definitely want water down at Wakanui, and the other side say it's impractical. So I'll be interested to hear what the outcome actually is.
Yes, thanks, Stuart. Diane?
I had a few points, just going back to the Wakanui Creek. I was talking to Lynette about this, and what concerns me is if they invest a lot of time and money in trying to get the natural watercourse back down there, what happens then when the sea comes up over the big gravel bank and puts salt water in there? To me, that would be defeating what they're trying to achieve, because that seems to happen once or twice a year.
Well, that's what the working group can work through, the risks associated with their whole project. They can look at that. Liz?
Can I make that recommendation that we appoint Councillor Lovett to the working group?
And I'm happy. Diane, you want to second it?
Well, yeah, I was seconded. I was about to move it. And just my third point, sorry, I had a third point, and that was about the Tynwald refuse from the road safety group. I did bring that back up at the road safety meeting, and NZTA sort of dodged and stepped sideways on it. And Brian Firth may have some, I see he's on here, Brian might have some more information, but I didn't get a positive answer. I wasn't liking what I was hearing.
Okay, we'll deal with that recommendation, and Brian might like to update too if he's on here about what's if he's got any more to add there. But moved and seconded. Angus.
Could I have my vote recorded against? I think Councillor Lovett would be a wonderful person there, but what I'm objecting to is that it's actually specific in the report, restoring reliable water flows. If it was just enhancing Wakanui Creek for a general enhancement, yes, I'd have no problem, but it is actually really, really specific, restoring reliable water flows. So that's the reason I'm voting against it, not because of Councillor Lovett. I think she'll do a great job there.
Okay, great. Any other debate on it? Comments? Diane and Liz, you've got your hands still up, and Angus. Moved and seconded. Stuart?
If you read the motion, it says, regard to the practicalities of restoring reliable water. So if they find that it's impractical, that's it. So I think it's pretty general, the way it's written according to the way I read it.
Yep.
Question?
Angus, yep.
Could someone read the recommendation to me, the motion to me, please?
That council appoints Councillor Lynette Lovett as council's representative on the Wakanui Working Group.
So how does that fit with what Councillor Wilson said?
That was background information he was giving you on what the zone committee would like to achieve. Yeah. So we're just dealing with that recommendation that we appoint Councillor Lovett to that working group. And I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Angus, is anyone against? Noted. And we'll have that noted as well, Angus. Thank you. Passed. The Mayor's report. Any further on the Mayor's report? Brian, was Brian there, or did he have an update or not on those traffic lights? No, we'll wait for the activity reports and get an update there. Someone like to, I'll move that we receive the Mayor's report. Lynette, seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 18, CEO verbal report on COVID update. Hamish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this update's really in relation to council services and council activity. The vast bulk of our facilities remain closed at level 3. So places like the EA Network Centre, library, art gallery, museum, community halls and public playgrounds remain closed. The public toilets on the main freight routes remain open. And of course, our main administration building remains closed to the public. One of the changes that we can report, though, at level 3 is that there are a number of staff who have gone back into those facilities behind the publicly closed door in order to get ready for the opening at level 2. So we do have a number of staff back. Another big change at level 3 is our open spaces team are able to safely, under the regulations, get back to work where they can't at level 4. We're very grateful for that change as spring growth hits our green spaces. So that's really good. Another big change is in our rubbish and recycling, and that we can now collect curbside glass recycling. So that's good. We weren't able to at level 4. We continue to pick up the yellow and red bins as we were under level 4, just on the normal fortnightly cycle. Resource recovery parks are open, but just for refuse and green waste. So we're not taking drop-offs for hazardous waste or household appliances, nor is the reuse shop open. But if citizens want to drop off refuse or green waste, then they are open. There are operating restrictions, though, at level 3. So there's only 3 vehicles allowed on site at any one time. That will have cause queuing and a little bit more slow, and you have to pay at the weighbridge by contactless payment, no cash handling. Another change is around our regulatory services. While the building is not open, we are able to assume inspections. There are again restrictions on how we do that safely, both for the builders and for our own staff. So the other major change, councillors, is our own projects. And we just heard a brief discussion around the CBD, and that is now back underway. We are hoping, Mr. McCann can comment in more detail if this isn't sufficient, but we are hoping with some double shifts and getting underway at midnight last night, changing the work program a little bit to try and make some really good progress while the level 3 restrictions are still in place, that we might be able to gain some of the 2 weeks that we've lost through the level 4. So that's a high priority for us. And how we get on, only time will tell, and Neil may like to comment further. Of course, the level 3 return to work still has to have all the safe requirements about distancing, etc., etc. So the work isn't quite as easy or as perhaps full noise as it was at level 1, but they are back. Similarly, the Civic Centre and Library project can get back underway under the safety restrictions, as can the 2 pieces of the Ashburton Relief Sewer with the SIPE and ACL sections of that work can get back underway, and is, as I understand it, underway today. So there's still a lot of restrictions. We've got most of our staff still working from home where they are able, but there is a number of significant changes for aspects of our work program in particular, and some of those services around solid waste. Happy to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Fell into that trap myself. Thanks for the update, Hamish. John, question.
Yeah, just a comment actually. Being downtown this morning, I have never seen East Street so busy with contractors being there. And what was most pleasing to see was that there were 2 local contractors' trucks, both being used to bring in road fill. I think if we had that amount of resources there from the start, the job would probably be finished by now, but it was very, very pleasing to see.
One of the difference, councillors, is that we've closed East Street completely in order to be able to work in that manner. And if you recall that prior to lockdown, we had received a deputation from some of the retailers who requested that East Street not be closed completely through the work period. But at level 3, we felt it was appropriate, following some consultation with retailers, not all of whom agreed, but the bulk did, that closing East Street completely at level 3 would enable us to make faster progress than we otherwise would. And that's one of the ways in which we can try and gain back some of the 2-week period.
Good. Liz?
Thank you. So our roading contractors are able to get out and sort of have a bit of a catch up as well, is that correct?
Yeah, so the roading contractors were always able to attend to road maintenance because of issues of safety. So they haven't been as restricted at level 4 as other aspects of our work program. The change from level 4 to level 3 in the roading, I perhaps ask Neil or Brian to comment on what the difference is. But in terms of safety issues, the roading maintenance program has continued at level 4.
So they were able to patch up a few more potholes and things over level 4?
Yes, they were.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Stuart?
Oh, yes, I think HEB have stepped up this morning when I picked up the paper at 7 o'clock. There was a lot more activity in the HEB guys coming to work, and there were HEB trucks flying everywhere. I'm sure they have been doing some, but I'm sure they were stepped up a lot more this morning, or yesterday morning.
Thanks, Stuart. Angus?
Mr. Mayor, can I thank the Chief Executive for a very full report. I think imparted a lot of information to the public that actually hasn't been, I picked up some stuff that hadn't actually been in a press release. So thank you, and that's the best Chief Executive report I've ever heard in 21 years in local government. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Angus. I'm sure Hamish says thank you for that too.
Thank you, Councillor.
No further questions. Move the adoption of Hamish's verbal report. I'll move. Seconder. Liz, all in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Now that takes us to the end of the open part of meeting. Someone like to move, we move into committee. Councillor McMillan, Councillor Wilson, all in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. 11 committee. Just wait for Ruben to do his thing. And he'll let us know when he has. We're offline, great. I don't think we'll take long, so we won't take a break. There's not a lot of in-committee stuff to do at all. The first item is